Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my podcast, No Cap, Just Raw. I never get tired of saying it. Guys, we are back again for another edition of A Valued Girl. Hashtag, am I insecure? Question mark. So today we have the privilege and the honor to discuss this very important topic that we all go through. And I have the privilege of discussing this topic with our very special guest, Petrelia. Welcome back, girl.
Hello, the pleasure is mine. I'm
So,
excited.
this topic is just one of those things that I feel like anyone and everyone can relate to, whether you're a boy or a girl, whatever the case might be, because we all get insecure from time to time. We all have insecurities, and sometimes our insecurities are what holds us back in life from doing the things that we really want to do. I did wanted to ask you because I know you're a business owner, you're an artist, you're an entrepreneur. And I think everything you do is incredible. Uh, what
Thank you.
gave you the courage to start your business? Where did that come from? Because I know a lot of people who talk about ideas, things they want to do, and then they don't have the courage to start it. Even myself, I did not have the courage to do a lot of things, and I'm gonna talk about that after, but I want you to tell us, as a business owner and as an entrepreneur, how did you get yourself out there? What gave you the courage to just, like, say, "I'm gonna do this. I'm going for it."
Courage for me was a journey. Um, there's a lot that I still battle with to this day where it will test my courage, it will test my will to do what I actually love to do. And that battle started in childhood. Being taught, oh, when you're taught that you have all of these things against you and you're a marginalized population, you're only going to get this amount of resources, you might not make it, you might be a statistic from a very, very early age. That is what I think helped me to break through. Now, it didn't give me this sense of self-worth or value, and that is something that I currently am insecure about because of this journey and because of the way that I see success. My relationship with success, it's not exactly where I would like it to be actually in this moment. So when I was a kid, I knew that I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had all these creative ideas and I wasn't afraid to share it. That was naturally my personality. I'm a very vociferous person. I like to be loud. I like to talk. I like to, express what's on my mind because it's just how I was born and that's how I react to other people. My innate ability or my innate desires to share with others. So as a kid, I had this one friend when I was in the gifted program, and we would come up with fashion ideas. We would come up with little store ideas. We even decided that we would take our little hot sausages because everyone in elementary school loved them some junk food. Her grandmother owned a cafe, and my mom would basically buy me what I want when it came to food. I would get a jar of hot sausages and she would get some hot sausages from her grandmother and we would sell the hot sausages in elementary, not knowing that it was illegal. So there was a sense of creativity that I already had and that any entrepreneur or business owner needs. I had that already. Um, as far as the self-worth and value, I grew up in a trying time that tested my worth because as I learned more about what my identity was. And growing up, through your adolescence, being innocent and not thinking about how you identify with your race. I mean, the girl that I was talking to, I was always around different races of people, but I noticed the difference between my schooling when I was in a predominantly Black school and a predominantly, you know, white school. I wouldn't call it completely white because there was Hispanic people there too, but I noticed the difference in my schooling when I was in the predominantly Black school, I was taught that I had a harder time. I would have a harder time in life. When I was in a predominantly white or Hispanic school, I wasn't even taught about being oppressed or marginalized. So this battle is something that I will say I battle with it because I want to win, and that's what gives me the courage. There's a lot that's like tied into that. I was in the predominantly Black elementary schools. There's just this push to be more, 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 more. And so that kind of gave me this sense of self that had to be bigger than what I am in order to even make it to a quarter of who I think I am. And that stifled a part of me that feels successful or is supposed to feel happy with what I've created and what, with failing and having a natural sense of progression. But when, I tap into that side that's just like innocent, kind of like, oh, well, you're allowed to fail, which is a programming that came from schooling and experiences that did not tell me my identity is a major cause or can be a make or break in my development. When I think to that, then I'm like, okay, well, it's okay to be who I am. So I still have that today. I have this need to overachieve and not feeling like I'm enough because I'm like, well, if I really am successful or I really do have the skills and my creativity is there, well, I should be like Beyonce. I should be like this by the age of 23, by the age of 24.
Right.
And so seeing like, okay, well, I'm a Black woman in business. Here is the truth. Here are the statistics. This is what my predominantly Black schooling taught me. There are limited resources here right now, although that has changed over the years. Now we can see more resources. There are limited resources, but you have to access them, and you kind of have to access them through a type of identity. And then I have this other part of me that's like, well, I can't just keep myself limited to. So the whole thing is, it's like, that's my biggest insecurity, is feeling like I am enough, irregardless of what I look like, how I'm oppressed, the statistics. I have these two programmings running, and I'm constantly trying to emotionally make up for that and be like, okay, it's okay that you don't have it all together right now. It's okay that maybe your first idea didn't work. It's okay that you change your idea or you change businesses. It doesn't make you a con person. You're a person figuring it out. You're not supposed to be 22 and a billionaire because you actually did not start with the resources that a 22-year-old billionaire started with. So one of my insecurities is feeling worthy within myself, and it's ongoing. I have not found the solution, like the end all be all solution. I just think that it is a part of my life that I have to wake up and say, hey, like, even if you don't feel like you're enough, you are enough, and it's okay to be where you are. You don't have to be, this other person to be successful. So
I love everything you said, and what I thought about in the midst of all you were saying is I thought about nepotism. How it is the groundwork for a lot of people. A lot of people don't tell people. You look on social media and all they show you is the success. I'm this, I'm that, I'm a supermodel, but they won't tell you that their uncle was in the modeling industry before them. Or they won't tell you that they have a cousin who's in that industry that they're in, or that their parents left them a trust, or grandpa put money aside for them from the day they were born. So they're flaunting all these riches and wealth to the rest of the world, but they're not telling the truth about how those riches and wealth came from. And the reason I mention that is because a lot of people will look at other people's success and be quick to compare. And I've done that a lot. I will look at other people that do what I do, and I'm like, dang, how is she doing that? Like, how does she juggle this and that? And we're the same age, or we look the same, and why can she do it and I can't? And that comparison is so strong. And why? Because of course that plays into our insecurity. But I also I don't want to deviate from what we're talking about, but I know for one, that social media is an illusion of a lot of deceit, and there's a lot of things that the social media shows us that's not realistic, but they're preaching it hard so that people can buy their courses and say, I can show you 10 ways to make, 6 figures. And it's like, okay, but don't neglect to tell us that you were born from from nepotism. You are the result of that because of your family and your friends, even people. It's not even just family, it might be a friend that they know who's got a cousin who's got a parent who's in that industry. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I think about all of that and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Because personally, when I went and get my undergrads, I studied fashion design. We both went to the same school, different times. And I got my degree in fashion design. And why? I'll tell you why. My father was a fashion designer. Still is. He makes clothing, he makes wedding dresses. He's very skilled. My mother's also a fashion designer. My dad, he did fashion illustration. He had clientele. It was like his thing. He was an artist. He paint, he draw. So growing up around that and seeing all he did, it made me want to do it and go for it. And I started to gain an interest in drawing and painting. And so when I went to fashion school, it just felt like second nature to me, you know? But my point in saying all that is that that courage, came from seeing my father do it, and I'm like, "If he can do it, I can do it," you know?
Hmm.
But I say that to say that, um, you know, we all need courage. It's gotta come from somewhere, and I like how you put it, it's a journey. It's not an overnight process. You
Hmm.
don't just wake up and say, "Okay, I'm gonna do this business," and then you do it. Success takes time, and I
Right.
think that's what the world fails to teach us.
Right. And I think the more you do it, the easier it becomes to let go of the need to have a certain outcome. I personally feel like I identify with the overachiever archetype where you're trying to feel or fill a void with external success. That is a very big insecurity of mine. And to go out every day and feel like every action, even though my results will show, hey, you're making small gains, my biggest blockage with that is I don't really have someone around me in my space that, gives me that feeling. Well, actually, now I do with my fiance, but like I have not seen someone doing what I actually want to do, and that's just because I have a unique desire. But my feeling of wanting to compare and say, okay, well, this person's doing this, if I do it like that, then I will just mimic their success. It should be easy. And that is not the truth with everything. As you were saying, there's a lot that goes behind the scene. One big thing about having a brand and having a business is you're going to need to spend money on advertising and marketing. And there is a stronghold on advertising and marketing because people consume with their eyes first. So this whole idea of like trying to fit into a standard or get people's attention, it's not really where my heart is. It's not really what I identify with. I don't really want to receive like physical compliments or anything like that because I am a thinker. So it's harder for me to see someone like me being as successful as I think I should be. And that's because I have this kind of overinflated idea of what success for me should have looked like. So I'm connecting it to what you were saying about like comparing yourself. So it's like you found happiness in saying, well, I'm happy to do what my mom and my dad did, but I'm the opposite. I don't want to do what my mom and dad did. I want to do something bigger. I want to be, I want to do something huge, amazing. And that holds me back. I'm comparing myself to, okay, well, if I would have if I would have sent out this ad 5 months ago, I probably would have had this amount of money. And that is like something that I really, I wish. It's like, it's, to me, I'm going to rationalize and I say, you need to have that. Because in business, yes, you do have to compare. But where I'm starting from, it doesn't really allow me to be like that yet. That's something that happens down the road after you lay the foundation. So for anybody who is trying to achieve, the main thing is letting go of the idea of the results, being okay with failure, being okay with loss. It is a part of life. It does not make you less than. It is just a part of the journey. It actually creates a better resolution in the future when you're met with a similar situation. And that's something that I internalize. Like, it's okay that I fail now, because if I'm approached with this same idea later, I can handle it a different way. So if you are like me and you have these feelings of, my identity holds me back, or the world is just not ready, or I'm not ready, whatever it may be, it's not about what you get out of it monetarily all the time. It is not about the numbers all the time, especially in the beginning stages. You are allowed to switch paths. You are allowed to explore yourself. You don't have to stay in one path if it does not work for you. And it's a big step. It doesn't give you that feeling of safety all the time where you're like, okay, well, I know that if I go and I become a doctor, like, like mom or dad wanted me to be. I know a lot of people who become doctors because they're following their parents' footsteps. Not everybody is like that, and it's okay. They may go through their own things too, and you don't see it. And they have their own insecurities too. They might have the money, they might have something else going on. Who are we to judge that? But for people who are insecure about starting their own path, going their own way, I'm telling you, even though it is a battle, it is not a battle that is just, no one understands, no one goes through it, no one gets it. It's just a part of growth. It's a part of evolution. Don't be so down on yourself all the time. So that's, anytime I feel that coming up, I'm like, I think about the art process. I think sometimes there are happy mistakes. Sometimes I'll create something with one idea and the canvas looks completely different at the end of the entire process. And I'm happier with the mistake that I made rather than the idea that I had, or everybody winds up loving the mistakes. I'm like, how? There's been so many times when we're in school and I'm presenting something, and I'm gonna let you know. There's been times where I've done a project maybe the night before. Everybody always loves those projects. I did not put any effort into it. I get up there and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna go with the flow. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's amazing. I'm like, dude, what? But when I put in the effort, I'm like, okay, this has to be perfectly written. I have to connect this point like this, and that.
Right.
And it falls kind of like flat with everyone. I'm like, maybe there's something wrong with me. Like, in all honesty, and maybe my processing is more exciting when I'm just like, I gotta do it. It's spur of the moment. I don't have to be so overly prepared, as opposed to manufacturing an idea and trying to create an experience that I think would work, but actually doesn't work. So sometimes we may think we're supposed to be a certain way, but really we're allowed to be the other way. We don't have to follow this idea of don't be a procrastinator. Like, I beat myself up with all of that. It was ingrained in me, even from my discipline in sports, my discipline in school. Don't be a procrastinator. You should always be producing. You should always be productive. And this is literally being a business owner. You would think that means you have to do it times 10. I found out that's not the right way for me. It just doesn't work for me. And it took a lot of deprogramming to be okay with that. Like, it's okay that you might disappear on social media. You don't have to be there every day, So I'm speaking from a place of current experience, so I'm still not completely, maybe in 10 years, I'll be able to look back and be like, oh yeah, that time where I was building my business and I was here, where I'm like disappearing for a while and then I expect to have like some big results. I should have been going so hard. I'm like, if my friend told me that they were going through the things that they were going through or that I was going through at the moment, I would be like, no, you're fine. You're okay. So be your own best friend. That's the best way to get over your insecurities. Be your own best friend first, and you'll find the support and the actual love that you need. And to me, that's more successful than anything that a dollar can buy. If I can be happy where I'm at right now, just knowing that I'm loved, I'm supported, and I'm working at my own pace. I don't have to produce like, you know, like imagine a cow being pumped with hormones to just genetically produce like double the meat. Like I'm not that. I don't have to overproduce
Right.
and do things that are that are actually not natural for me, that are synthetic
Right.
for me in order to suit this idea of overproductivity that I have, this insecurity of not being enough, having lack. So I need to make up for all of that lack by having more. I don't need to do that. It's okay that
Right.
I'm not perfect. It's fine. It's okay, friends. You don't have to
And
be
I
perfect. You are
love
perfect.
I love all of that because I feel like that is a major cure for insecurity is to acknowledge, to be okay with saying, yeah, it's true. I am not so good at this, or it's true, I don't have it together and I'm still learning how to do it. And I think that's where a lot of the fear stems from. The fear stems from what people will think if they know that I can't do it, or can I do it? The fear within yourself, the self doubt. And once I acknowledge, wait a minute, I don't believe in myself. And it's crazy because it was just the other day I was speaking to a girlfriend of mine and I was like, all these years, I never really actually admit to myself that I actually don't entirely believe in myself. And there's so many things I want to do. And what's holding me back? I don't believe in myself. I don't believe that I can do it. And and once I said that, I just felt this burden just come right off of me. Like, wait a minute. Why do you feel any pressure to do anything? If something is really your dream and passion, it's something that you want to achieve in life, and there's pressure, that doesn't really add up. I feel like with anything in life that you want to do, it just comes naturally. It's organic. It just flows out of you effortlessly. And this is why I look at inspiration is a big deal to me. Being surrounded by people that actually inspire me and seeing what they do and that what they're doing is just coming from a natural place. It's like they were born to do this thing and it just looks so effortless. It's beautiful. So I look at what they do and I'm inspired. And this actually also makes me think about um, the time where my dream was to be a fashion designer. I said I'm gonna have my own fashion empire, my own clothing line. Never say never. I'm just saying that at one point in time, that was like my focus. I was like laser beam focused on building this fashion brand. But when I was in fashion school, there was a lot of things that I noticed, amongst the students, among the professors, and things like that. I did experience some situations, some unfavorable situations with professors, with students, Um, I mean, I noticed things like, you know, how the teachers would treat certain students versus other students. And anyone who knows me knows that I um I don't look at, the color or ethnicity or race. I never paid attention to things like that. But I will say that um I did grow up in a household where my parents did tell me some of the experiences that they had growing up because, of course, they grew up in a different time than me. There was, you know, some situations that they dealt with where they were mistreated because of the color of their skin, or because they could do something that another student who was, maybe per se white or Jewish or whatever the case might be, had a privilege that they didn't have. And I heard all of their experiences and things like that. And, things like that stay with you, when you hear people and their testimonies about what they've been through. So I went to fashion school, never thinking that I would experience that, but I did. I experienced it with some of my professors, and there were opportunities that certain students had because of the way they looked that I didn't get. And as much as possible, I was like, you know what? Maybe it's because I'm just insecure. I need to let this go. It's not true. And I always try to give the benefit of the doubt in every situation. But it was just so obvious that I was just like, okay, girl, just don't lie to yourself. It is what it is. There are people in the world that are still, you know, that way. They don't believe that Black and brown people should, have the same opportunities that, you know, a white person might have and things like that. So, I can even vividly remember being in a computer class that I had to take. It was a prerequisite for one of my core courses, and the professor, just for context, I'm gonna say he was Latino, Hispanic. I don't know exactly where he was from, but his look, and he spoke Spanish and things like that. And the class had mainly Latino, Hispanic students as well. I spoke to some of them, and maybe 2 or 3 Black and brown students, and me being one of them. And I remember just, like, we had to take a quiz, a final or something in the class, and he helped all the students, specifically all the students that looked like him. And I remember that I didn't understand. I was, because it was an open book, so he was giving us clues, he was helping, and, like all the other students, I needed help too, and he wouldn't help me. He actually put a student to help me, and I was just like, and he had such a short fuse with me. Like, I would continue to come and ask him questions like every other student that looked like him, and he would get annoyed every time that I came and asked him a question, or I came and asked him for help.
That
So,
sounds like, yeah, that sounds obvious.
yeah, I was just like, maybe I'm wrong, but it was
I
just
don't
so
think you were
obvious.
wrong. I don't think you were wrong. Our wants and our desires will make us want people to be unified. So we kind of veil it, we kind of change it in our minds sometimes. But that is completely honest. I mean, obvious, not, well, it's honest and obvious. And that is not
Right.
the first time that I've heard of an experience similar to that in the school that we went to. There's been, I want to mention names, but I also don't want to mention names. I don't know if you remember the girl who was there who actually spoke out about the racism, and she got suspended, or she got completely, like, kicked out of the schooling. Do you remember that? Yeah.
It sounds so
So
familiar.
that
I actually
is,
heard of a situation like
she was, okay, we were all in the same kind of circle. I don't want to say her name. I don't want to give away her identity, but we were in the same circle. We had a few classes together. I don't believe you and her and I had the same class, but there was situations where people had spoke out about it. It's like, oh well, like, it's university, no one really cares. I've had professors, tell me, hey, like, find your own people, but I wondered about the undertone of it, because when I think about something naturally, and here's the innocent side where I'm like, naturally, I'm like, oh, your vibe attracts your tribe. Find your people, the people you like hanging with. Until I'm like, find your own people. But is that supposed to have another meaning to it? So usually, if we have to even filter it through that, like, you try to filter it and say, is it just me? there is something that's going on there. There is a microaggression here, and it's clear, and a part of me wants to sympathize with the person because obviously it's a little bit traumatizing or disgruntling. You want to say, no, maybe that person didn't know. It's like, no, that person, if they wanted to be responsible and they wanted to unify, they would make sure that they aligned with that, but they didn't. They didn't take that extra precaution or that sensitivity training or that moment or cue to be sensible or caring enough to say, maybe I should rethink how I say this because I do not know this person's background or whatever they may have felt. They didn't do that. So obviously it came from another place, right? And I'm not saying that all things, I'm glad that you and I, we kind of think about it because we don't want to just be one-sided and going out and looking for that to happen, but it still does. It really does. And there's different, like you said, I saw the same thing in the schooling. I saw that certain people were getting opportunities, maybe not because of their work all the time, maybe not because they have the best grades, but because they fit a certain agenda that certain people would like to uphold. We went to schooling in Miami, so we have a melting pot of cultures, but a lot of the art galleries were predominantly, I would say, Hispanic owned, Latin owned, and there's a lot of different people from South America. You have Argentina, Venezuela, Spain, all over the world. We even had Asian students, and they were being pushed to the forefront. There are people who are, I can't even really think about a lot of Black students who were pushed to the forefront. We got compliments, but I don't think we were pushed and supported with connections as much as everyone else was. And in my mind, I want to say that's luck, but it is too regular of an occurrence for that to just be a coincidence, So I full-heartedly believe that you experience a sense of racism and a sense of loss of identity. Like, am I being tried right now? Are you trying me or not? Like, am I crazy for thinking that you're trying me? And it's like, oh no, that person probably was. And what do we do about it is the next thing. It's like,
right.
Because if we create a group, is it gonna be, oh, you remember I created a group and it's like, does it have to be like African American Society of the school, or can I just be like Visual Scholar Society and just have that name, and it doesn't have to have that feeling of I still have to fight for oppressed people? But I don't think that's ever going to end until it ends. If there are oppressed people in this world, we're going to have to speak up when it happens, and that's something that comes with acceptance. You have to advocate for your pain sometimes, and it's fine. Don't you think when a student, I've seen it many times in university before I went to the school that we went to, people would just get upset because they're not happy with their grades and their parents are paying for their stay at school, you know what I mean, for their degree basically, and they would want to get their grades changed, and they go and they advocate for it. So why not advocate for what we feel is wrong, or advocate for their solution to how we've been wrong? So that just, we don't want to see it because we don't want it to happen, because we just want to be people without having to have the label of I'm different because of the type of person that I am, because of my skin, basically, like, because we're obviously more than that. But I'm sorry you went through that, and I would love for that to have not happened to you, and for you to feel like you've been honored as much as any other type of student, any other type of person. And maybe, God gives you your flowers in your own way, right? We have our own flowers. We might be receiving something that's far more rewarding with people who we can relate to. And And whether that be a person who is Asian, who is Black, who is Hispanic, who is anything, who's Nordic, wherever they're from, we can relate to whoever we want to relate to. Believe it or not, even when you have groups that are mainly Latin or mainly European, they even have their own senses of colorism or racism. So it doesn't stop. It's what we do with it that really matters. So we just have to keep that resilience and don't let it get us down, because it doesn't determine who we are
Right.
just because someone thinks they know who we are.
Yes. And this is my final thought for the sake of time. My final thought for anyone out there, for all of you who are listening, you are not your experiences. And a lot of experiences that we go through, we make an identity out of it, and it just keeps us boxed in forever. And my father always used to say this. He used to say that the cemetery is one of the richest places on the earth. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Because a lot of people went to their grave with books, business ideas, billion-dollar ideas that could have made them very wealthy or could have helped them build generational wealth. Why did they not achieve the things that they dreamt about? Why? They went to their grave with it. And now that I fully understand what he meant, I'm like, it's true. The cemetery is one of the richest places here on earth. And I always say that everything you've been through is for a reason. Is always for a reason. And if it doesn't kill you, it will definitely make you stronger. So if you are insecure, I just want to let you know you're not alone. In some way, shape, or form, we are all insecure, and we're striving each day. I know I am, and I know he is. We are striving to be valued girls. And what is a valued girl? A girl who is confident, a girl who is a progressing woman, a girl becoming a woman, and that takes time, and it's a journey.
I'm just so happy to be able to share these experiences, and I want to see some feedback. I want to know everybody else's journey and what wisdom they can offer based on their own experiences, because at the end of the day, we are all one. We are all different parts that come together to help the other parts. But yeah, I'm excited to know what tips of growth anyone else can offer for anyone that may be going through something similar that you've gone through in your past, or something similar to what you're going through right now. Drop those gems, y'all. Let us know, okay?
Down below. Thank you so much, Key, for joining this series. You know you're a regular here. You are always welcome. Thank you to everyone who's been listening and watching. And yes, like she said, leave some comments below, drop some gems for us. We want to hear what you have to say and what you think. And until next time, guys, bye.
I think you froze at just the right moment.
Literally.
You literally froze at just the right moment. That was good. That was good. That kind of, oh, I can't hear you.